On the horizon, or where we think this is going immediately, at the end of last year, and actually a couple times so far in January, we've seen brands announce ways that and when I say brands, I should say we've seen AI engine companies announce ways that we're going to enable product purchases within the engines themselves. So think about going to ChatGPT, doing a search for like running shoes, for example, like I mentioned earlier, and being able to click a button in there to order shoes in my size that will be delivered to my door without ever going to Nike.com or BrooksRunning.com as examples, right? And this relates to this concept that we really haven't talked about, but we should probably at least mention, which is zero-click search. So zero-click search is something that we're seeing on the rise, which is basically a consumer goes to an AI engine, does a search, gets the answer that they're looking for, and never visits a website. That answer could be something that leads them to make a purchase or visit your store, but they never actually go to the website. This isn't a loss for you, right? The business still comes to you, the click, the visit, the purchase, but it's not something that we can track today. And so this is where we should expect things to continue to move is less visibility into at least AI specific data for now until these engines provide new reporting mechanisms, which haven't quite seen yet. And then ads and sponsored results. So most of us aren't seeing things like sponsored links or ads in our AI searches today, but we know that that's just around the corner. It's pervasive in traditional search. We know that they're most likely just waiting for a certain amount of adoption before those things get integrated, and that will probably look different on different platforms. So ChatGPT and Perplexity and Gemini will probably integrate this in different ways. I think the concern there is that we might have a very fragmented way to advertise across these different platforms. The bonus, though, is with that advertising will probably come analytics that don't exist today. So we're both sort of half dreading, half looking forward to having some analytics, but also the impact that might have on the user experience. And then future growth. As I mentioned before, AI is projected to grow significantly, particularly its impact on search and how people use the web. We've seen announcements for things like AI-based web browsers. OpenAI has an AI-based web browser that allows you to see the web very differently than you do via something like Chrome or Edge or Firefox today. And so these are all going to change how we interact with the web and how AI sort of influences that day-to-day experience. So we can wrap up here with a couple of, I think, takeaways. We wanted to make sure that you had something you could do, right after this or tomorrow if you've got a slow Friday afternoon. Some sample prompts that you might be able to run in AI engines so that you can start to get a feel for what your brand looks like. What's your brand visibility? What's your brand sentiment? So I would encourage you to open up something like Google's AI mode, ChatGPT, and Perplexity. Look at all three because all three of them approach these slightly differently, and ask some of these prompts. Compare my brand against my competitor's brand. Compare Ansira against brand X. Or if you know who three of your competitors are, ask for a table that compares all four of you. Summarize negative reviews about my brand is a great one to sort of understand what does AI think are your brand's greatest challenges? Because that sentiment and that theme is what AI is communicating to users who ask about your brand, or it may be something that influences AI to include your brand in the response or not. So these would be two great ways to get started on understanding how is AI how does AI perceive my brand and what message is it giving to users about my brand who may be prospects and am I gaining traction with those prospects or am I losing traction with those prospects? And then finally, try to stay informed. A lot is happening quickly, and having a trusted partner or a trusted news source, whether that's a podcast or a newspaper's particular section about AI, having a place that you can reference regularly to understand what's happening in the market. Not all of it will be relevant to your individual situation all the time, but you'll be able to pick out, oh, that's for this particular thing. Mick and Eric talked about that in that Ansira webinar. I need to kind of revisit or relook at that.